Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Thank y'all, everybody, for staying with us. Special thank you to the folks that are listening to us on YouTube, in our replays. Thank you to everybody that's listening to us live, that's listening to us on TuneIn, as well as on MixLR, which is a lot of love for the folks there. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be down with the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. You're listening to Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. So thank you for keeping up with us here tonight. We're asking what the hell, y'all. The first two stories that I want to talk about, they're both based around leaving your kids alone. One of them is a little bit different than the other. The first one, I'm getting this one from our local affiliate, WTVR, which is our local CBS affiliate right here in Prince George County. Prince George County. We've got a Prince George County hometown hero here in the room with us. So, bless. I'm definitely going to get your opinion on this one first. And I told you that we were going to be talking about cases where people leave their kids unattended. This one is about the father of one-year-old twin girls who is charged with 2 counts of felony child endangerment and indecent exposure after police found his babies alone in a car parked in a driveway with the windows down outside of Prince George County duplex. That sounds bad. That's kind of bad enough. It really is. But the father, 27-year-old Juan Mumford, was about 30 feet away from the car, and he was having sex with a woman behind the building. We went around the back of the building of the duplex and discovered a male and female engaging in sexual intercourse. Prince George County Police Captain Brian Key said at that point, they, being the police, made contact with the individual who identified himself as the father of the twins. Police charged the woman with indecent exposure. She was released on the scene. The children were taken to the hospital for precautionary reasons. And the police actually were called to the area after people were hearing the children crying. Not only your kids, but look out for any kid in the neighborhood is what the captain is saying that folks should do. Mumford spent the weekend in jail before an initial court hearing sometime this week. So, blessed. I'm not going to put you in the category of everybody in Prince George's County. I figured I'd have a little fun with you.
Thank you so much.
Since I know that's where you come from. That's how they get down in Prince George County. That's how they get down in Virginia's PG.
Country loving right there, boy.
Yeah. What the hell? What the hell?
You know, and I'm trying to look and see where this duplex may have been. I mean, there are no real apartments there, so I'm trying to see whereabouts this was. And if I'm correct, it's like over this bridge where there's like anyway, it's just, I can't see anyone going. You couldn't go in the house. You couldn't. Fresh air outside. But leaving your twins, I mean, did the woman not see the twins in the car? She wanted to go ahead and get with this? I don't.
Diva?
I have questions.
Oh, of course. Shocker.
Okay, can you review how old the twins were?
The kids are a year old. Two little girls, a year old. A year old twin girls.
This was daytime.
Daytime with the windows down. Yes.
With the windows down.
Down. Yes.
Well, at least they weren't rolled up and they were cooking in there, but still.
He's 30 feet away, from his children. And, when you're having sex and, you're distracted.
Yeah.
And you're 30 feet away. And
anybody could have took them.
Anybody could have took those kids.
Oh, there's not enough traffic there for the kids to get taken. I do know that. Bull Hill is connected to my mother's road, so I do know that. It's not enough traffic for somebody to have, but they did hear them. So a neighbor or somebody heard them, but it's not enough traffic for them to have gotten taken.
The neighbor could have took the kids. I mean,
takes
they
one
didn't
person to
necessarily
get
have
over
to
it.
have good intents.
Yeah. That's why. What you got?
I'm just shaking my head. It was probably his week with the kids.
Yeah.
And
his girlfriend or whoever she
couldn't
is.
take him to his mom's house.
Yeah.
So
804-402-2893 is the number to dial. Give us a call I just turned the phone back on. I just got a hit from somebody that said that they couldn't get me, but the phones are back on. So if you are trying to call us up. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. Yeah, that's crazy. Now, the next one, which is, in my opinion, crazy, but not quite as crazy. I'm getting this one from Fox8.com. This is a mom arrested for letting her 9-year-old play at the park alone. This is South Carolina mother. She's arrested for letting her 9-year-old play at the park alone while she was at work. Deborah Harrell has been charged with unlawful conduct towards a child. She admitted to leaving her daughter alone in the park for several hours while she worked. Daughter spent most of the summer at McDonald's where she worked. The girl spent her time on the family's laptop, but after the laptop was stolen from the family's home, the girl asked to play at the park while her mom worked. And so that is pretty much the setup, but we are getting a call, so we're going to take a break from the story to get the caller in. So at this time, I'm going to talk to the caller. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from?
It's DJ Renee Melendez from New Jersey. What's going on, y'all?
What's going on, sis?
What's up?
How you doing? You what you want to get in on? I know you're listening. You know you've been listening. Was that you trying to call us a little while ago?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that was me.
Gotcha. What you got? What you want to get in on?
I want to chime in on this. You know, everybody is not meant to be parents. They're not parent material. They don't belong having children and everything. And I read the story about the guy having sex behind the building and leaving his twins in the car. And it seems to be a recurring issue with these parents leaving kids in the cars and stuff. Now, it's been kind of warm up here in Jersey, and of course, me having a black truck, the heat always seems to trap in my truck. I got my car yesterday, and all the windows was up, and it was hot as Hades in there. And I said, now imagine being a few-month-old baby or a 1 or 2-year-old toddler child being strapped into a car seat in this unbearable heat in the car and can't breathe and can't move.
Yeah.
You know, if a child is not in a car seat, most children are inquisitive enough to figure out how to unlock the door and be able to pull the door open and crawl out. Well, at least my kids were at 1, 2, 3 years old. But the worst thing, you know, parents shouldn't be leaving kids in cars anyway, but the worst thing is to have a child. I just, as an adult, sat there and I felt like some pain through my heart yesterday when I sat in my own car, and I'm 40, and felt that unbearable heat. And then I thought about all these little kids, you know, where their parents are going to work or going to have sex or whatever, and leave them in the car.
Yeah.
You know, and to think about the fact that I want to move down to the guy in Atlanta, Ross Harris.
The one we talked
the
about
one who
before.
goes-
Yeah. While he went to work, and he checked on the kid a couple of times while he was working.
But he's not the only one, though. There was another man recently who went to work and left his kid in the car I think it was up in Connecticut, if I'm not mistaken, and the child passed away. And my whole thing is, do these people not look in their rearview mirror when they're parking? You know, did you just park your car or just pull head into a space and not bother to, you know, turn in the mirror or look in the back row of your car when you got out of it?
Jump in here.
I mean, I was just going to say, me being a single person, I park the car all the time. I don't even look in the mirror. If I park going in, I don't look in the mirror. I don't have to. I've got all my stuff in my house.
But you're a single person. Do you have children?
No, I don't. So that probably...
Okay, so that's the difference. The very minute that you become a parent and you have another life that you're responsible for on this earth, your entire instinct and all of your senses almost change immediately.
Let me throw you this curveball, Renee. The next story that we were bringing up right as you were calling is the lady who had her daughter at the park. Now, this story, while it's a story about leaving a child alone, it's not leaving a child in the car. I want you to give me your opinion real quick. I want to get the crew in, and then I'm gonna hold you over because the next story I'm gonna get in is something I definitely want your opinion on. So give me your opinion on this one real quick, and then I'm gonna move on to the crew, and I want you to hold the line. But basically, this lady, she's going.
That mother,
you know the story.
I was listening to the
Okay, so you heard the
very
setup.
beginning of what you guys were talking about, so I'm a little familiar, and I saw it on your timeline earlier.
Okay, so go for it.
Basically, my opinion is she really should be held for neglect. And the reason being is, I don't care where you live in this country, nowhere is safe when it comes to little kids because there are crazy people who suffer from pedophilia. So while, you know, mom had to work or whatever. The bottom line is, here's a 9-year-old who thinks that the world is a safe place, and probably thinks everyone is her friend, because that's how most 8, 9, 10-year-old kids are. And for her to be left at a park like that for numerous hours, anybody could have kidnapped her,
Yep.
Took her in the back of a car, or back of a building or whatever, and did all kinds of horrible things to her.
Let me stop you.
So,
Let me stop you there, because I got where you're going. I'm gonna hold you over, because I want you to get your opinion on my next story. Let me get the crew in on this one. Diva, what you got?
I mean, I'm just blown away by all of these stories. It's really sad, that this is occurring with the children. And you mentioned, Renee, with the parent instinct. I mean, a lot of times that's missing nowadays.
Yeah.
People just don't have that same paternal instinct that they had back in the day. It's all about them.
That's why I jump in.
But these people aren't forgetting them. They're doing it on purpose. That's the
In
difference.
some cases.
Well,
These people are doing this on purpose.
Let me
going to
throw the
work.
caveat out there, because we talked about the woman, the sister who left the kid in the car, I think out west somewhere, and we all remember seeing the picture of her crying. Arizona. We all remember seeing her mugshot of her crying. Well, she got off because she was I guess she was going to work, and
She was going for
she-
a job
interview.
interview.
Yeah, she was going to a job interview, and the follow-up behind that was they made a deal so she won't suffer any negative consequences. And while I think that this particular woman in South Carolina should suffer some consequences, I'm a little bit torn, because I remember being a latchkey kid. I remember being 5 years old, getting off of the bus and walking a half a block with my key to my house, going in my house and chilling. I was 5, and I remember doing that. I also remember Etan Potts, who left his house about 6 months prior to me starting kindergarten, and he's the reason why I'm in the missing kids at this point in my life now, because he walked out of his house and never was seen again. So there's two different ways that you can look at it. It's a different time. This little girl's 9 years old. She's in the park and she's got a cell phone. So on the one hand, you're like, obviously the mother was thinking, but she had to go to work. So what do you do? Like, how do you, Renee, you're a mom. I'm gonna bring you back in on this one. I said I wouldn't, but I'm gonna bring you back on this one. You're a mom. What do you do when you cannot there's nobody? You have nobody that can watch your kid, and you got to go to work, because if you don't go to work, you're not gonna have no place for your kid to live. I don't understand that kind of dilemma, because fortunately I've never been faced with something like this. I really don't know, what do you do, and I don't know that I feel comfortable judging somebody who's faced with that kind of situation.
I was in that predicament because my husband works in the city, so he has like an hour to 2 hour commute some days, and my hours were kind of varying. So there's a lady down the street, and I live in a pretty tight-knit community, so there's a lady down the street whom I befriended, and, she said, listen, if you need anybody to pick the kids up from school, put me down as an emergency contact, and, and what I can do is I can pick them up in the afternoon, and I can bring them home. Now, normally my 2 older boys are home, and my oldest one is 17 and the middle one is 14. So they're home. If they're home by themselves, they're okay. But I would never leave my 10-year-old by himself.
So
if something happened and nobody was here, she would take him to her.
Well, see,
house,
so the
and
difference.
he would stay there until one of us went to pick him up.
But so the difference is you haven't quite been faced with this lady. SY, have you been ever thought about?
There's no reason. And I've been in the position where I had nobody to watch my baby. There is no way in Hades that I'm leaving my house
Without your kid.
without my child. So if it's the choice between me going to work or me putting her in the park or letting her stay in the house by herself, whichever way, I'm not going to work.
Okay. I mean,
I'd rather not have my job
than not have your
than
kid.
risk something happen to my kid.
Diva.
I remember
I think she.
being a
Hold
kid,
up, Renee.
and
Hold up, Renee.
my mom took me to work with her. And I
Right.
know that's not necessarily possible, but if that's an option,
Well,
that's
apparently,
better than
in this
leaving them.
particular instance where she loses me is that she was taking the kid to work with her until the laptop got stolen. When the laptop got stolen, I guess the kid was getting bored sitting there. at work. Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J. I wish that we can spend more time on this one, but we do need to move on. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial. Renee, I want your opinion on this next story real quick, and then I'm going to let you go. And here's the reason why, because this story emanates from our hometown of Jersey City, New Jersey. It's about the murder of the police officer Melvin Santiago. We know that he was killed last week in an ambush from one of the guys who had robbed the Walgreens on the corner of Communipaw and Kennedy Boulevard. Is a location that I know you know well. And every time I come to town, I find a reason to find myself in that Walgreens. So real quick, just tell me what your thoughts are, because I know that you and I talked briefly about this. We don't have to get too deep into what we talked about, but just give me your thoughts on this.
It's unfortunate. Actually, that guy never stole anything from Walgreens. He didn't rob the Walgreens. What he ended up doing was telling another patron in there, "I'm going to be famous," and he slammed the security guard down to the ground and got his gun and ran outside. And I guess they called police because he was disruptive or whatever. When they arrived, that's when the shootout happened. It's unfortunate. It's extremely sad because Officer Santiago was only 23, and he had a whole life ahead of him. He's, not going to have any of those experiences that the rest of us have been fortunate to have. It's very sad because, most people in the media, most people of other ethnicities now, they group in all black folks together that live in Jersey City and saying Jersey City is just this horrible place, and the black folks there are animals and savages, and amongst other unpleasant words and stuff like that. And it's not safe over there, really. I don't feel like I'm in danger when I go down there. I go down there several times a week, but I don't feel that my friends and my family and stuff who still live there should be referred to that. Everybody shouldn't just be held accountable for one person's heinous act,
right?
In that regard. So
now, here's the thing with me. I guess it's a little bit, heightened for you and for me because that's our hometown. So I'm gonna actually introduce another piece, but I do need to let you go. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and where they can find you?
DJ Renee Melendez, and you can find me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. with Deep Hall Sessions with DJ Renee Melendez, only on LegacyInternetRadio.com.
My sister, keep listening. If you hear something that you want to get on, hit us a note in social media so we can get you back in, all right?
All right, later, twin.
All right,
See you
peace.
guys.
Peace, twin.
Bye.
How Steppin Marcus J. Now, here's another piece, and I think we sufficiently set it up for those folks who have not been privy to the news. I saw this on the National Wire about something that happened in my hometown, and y'all all know how proud I am to be from Jersey City, New Jersey. So when I see something like that, it definitely kind of touches my spirit, because it's a 23-year-old kid who literally signed on to be a police officer a year ago, hit the street 6 months ago, and he got ambushed and murdered. Now, there's also some talk that this guy who killed him did it in retaliation for a police-involved killing of a black kid in his neighborhood about a week prior. Now, the reason why I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about that because it's sad, to be honest with you, and I just didn't want to really get much into it. But the piece that I wanted to bring up was, I'm getting this from the news1.com. So a news reporter, he voiced his opinion about black families and relations with police while reporting on that police officer who was murdered, Sean Bergen. He was suspended from News 12 New Jersey without pay last week. And the station says its reporters must be objective and not state personal opinions. It is basically Mr. Bergen's opinion that black kids, he basically says the underlying cause of anti-police sentiment in young black men is because they grow up without fathers. So, Will, I want you to jump back in here. You're obviously you're a man, and so am I. I'm gonna get the lady's opinion, but I want to give you to kind of get your opinion. This guy Sean Bergen is a news reporter who got suspended and later ended up leaving his job for making that statement in the course of reporting news. And I guess he got let go because he editorialized. But your thoughts on what he actually said?
I read that, and he was suspended without pay, then suspended with pay, as what I read and understood, and that may not have been right. First thing that comes to my mind is that he made a judgment, and he should keep it. He should kept that to himself. And I don't draw a correlation there between black kids or any kids growing up without a parent, a male figure, and crime. How he could take that, make that leap is beyond me. There are a tremendous amount of females in the black community that raise families by themselves. So according to his logic, the streets should be running rampant, overflowing with kids committing crimes.
I agree.
And that is not the truth. My experience, there's been kids from two-parent families commit crime. So, as far as I'm concerned, he should have been fired on the spot, actually. And he was outside of his journalistic bounds with that, and I'm insulted. I'm appalled and insulted behind that type of logic, that type of thinking, and that type of. I hate to use the word racism because my definition of racism is when folks are oppressed.
There's a level. I think there's a when there has to be some sort of oppression for it to be racist, but it's definitely bigoted.
Very bigoted.
It's definitely
exactly.
bigoted. Bless, jump in here. What's your thoughts when you hear this?
Well, there are studies out that say that a lot of kids that grow up without fathers may be at higher risk to commit crimes, not that they actually do that. So he may have had some sort of research that he did regarding it, but you have to make a distinction between the story that you're talking about right now and the stuff that you may have read another time. People just don't have couth anymore. They don't have any good sense to know what they should and what they should not say.
Right.
And he's a victim of being ignorant and uncouth.
Right. The one thing that I'm glad, Hakeem, you're bringing this up because this was something that I wanted to bring up after Officer Santiago, who was promoted posthumously to detective, Santiago, so I'll refer to him as such going forward. But after Detective Santiago was murdered, there was a edict that was put out allegedly by the Jersey City Police Department that said that the Bloods street gang, which apparently is where these dudes came from, had decided that they were going to retaliate against the police for killing a fellow gang member. It has since been proven that was put out falsely by a Jersey City police officer. And the mayor stated that the cop will be disciplined. Now, I ain't a street kid. I grew up in the street, but I ain't no street kid. But I knew that shit ain't sound right. Hawk, come on now, Hawk. How much sense does it make if you a street dude, you're a blood, you think you calling in reinforcements from another town? You're going to handle it right there on the spot. You're not going, that's what police do. That's a police tactic. Y'all call in extra. So I agree with you on that. As far as this particular reporter, I agree with the news station. It's your job to report the news. It ain't your job to editorialize. You want to editorialize?
Go on Fox News.
Go work for Fox and go work for MSNBC and even to a lesser degree to CNN. But that's not what what you're trying to do. And Hakeem is agreeing. He's been trying to tell cats basically what we just said. So that's not what we do. Now, the other thing that I wanted to get into, because we have a officer who is a detective Santiago was murdered, but just a week later in Staten Island, New York City, and I'm getting this one from the Huffington Post. If my co-host was sitting here, she would have said it for me. But she's there. There you go. She's here. She's just not at the mic right now. But this is Officer Daniel Pantaleo, who has now since been stripped of his gun and badge after using an illegal chokehold to kill Eric Garner, who was basically allegedly selling illegal cigarettes. Basically, it's been found that he was not. You see in the video where he's feeling harassed by the police and tell the police, hey, look, why y'all keep messing with me? Leave me alone. I'm not doing nothing wrong. You know, and they surround him, and I guess he's in a defensive stance because he got a bunch of dudes running up on him, and they basically choke him out, and he goes into cardiac arrest. You can literally see him die in this video. You see him struggle, and you see him stop struggling, and by the time the paramedics got there, he had died. So, Bless, I want you in on this one first. We all saw the video. It's a national story. I don't know that the murder of Detective Santiago in Jersey City is national, but certainly the murder of Eric Garner, the civilian in New York City, murdered by the New York City Police Department in Staten Island, has become national news. What's your thoughts when you hear this one?
Well, number one, I actually haven't seen the video. I've seen the stills, but I can't bring myself to continuously watch things where people are dying. I feel like that gives me some sort of, it builds up a tolerance for it, and I don't want to build a tolerance to seeing people die. That's my number one. But number two, I understand why he was taking that stance. There was a video out of Petersburg, actually, that the police wanted to take someone's camera because they were taping them while they were arresting people in front of the house, and pretty much the same thing happened. They were fighting over the phone, and an officer came from off of the sidewalk to the stoop and grabbed someone around their neck and was pulling them backwards, which is probably not legal
Backwards
either.
Off of the porch.
Off of the porch.
Yeah.
So they're bent over backwards while this officer has his arm around his throat.
The irony in that video that you're speaking of, Bless, let me cut you off, but let me just add this piece. There's two cameras. There's the camera that they were trying to take, and then there's the camera that's filming them do that.
Yes. So, I mean, it's...
You only take one camera at a time.
I understand the officers' point of view. They feel like there's a threat. They feel like it's their duty to take that threat down. The story was with that man in New York that he just finished breaking up a fight himself. He had just stopped two other people from fighting, and here he gets assaulted by these officers and ends up losing his life. Now, officers don't know that he's asthmatic. Officers don't know that he has any kind of health problems. They just know they need to take this person down by whatever means that I have to. If it's not working the first time with the legal chokehold, then I'm going to use the illegal one. So, I mean, I understand their point of view. It's a shame this man had to die when he did not do anything to warrant them treating him that way.
Right. Diva?
I understand, when you're a police officer, you have to protect yourself first, and serve the community. But I think that with all this police brutality that has been going on, and before I was born, it's been going on, something needs to be done to change policies, to change procedures, to make it more safe for everybody involved. Because if there's someone causing a threat, there's a way to take them down without killing them. Yeah. Without choking them out. Yeah. So they need to come up with some kind of way to take them down, stun them or do something different.
Well, the irony,
than take their life.
The irony with that, Diva, is that they have done that, and that's why chokeholds have been illegal, and they have been illegal in New York City.
So when you implement it, why do you get away with it?
Well, this guy had his badge taken from him, so he didn't. But the unfortunate reality is that oftentimes people act a certain kind of way when, and Hakeem is co-signing what I said. Yeah, chokeholds are, yes, prohibited in the NYPD. But oftentimes people act a certain kind of way when there's a camera around versus when they don't, which is justified by that camera, that video of the truck driver that got pulled over and how that officer was giving him shit. And he said, until he realized that he was being filmed. Well, I want you to jump in here. What you got, my brother?
Well, it's not a shame. It's criminal. Okay. Each police department, Department of Corrections, what have you, have policies regarding use of force. Okay, and when you go outside the protection of the umbrella of the policy, you're liable for criminal prosecution. It's just that simple.
Right.
Okay. It is just that simple.
Right.
Okay. When it was obvious after you apply a hold on someone that they resisted, that the threat is gone, then your escalation of force must be reduced.
Right. Hakeem
Okay.
is saying that they killed a man for selling cigarettes. They didn't find any on him or his car. Tell him to put big tobacco in the chokehold. I can dig it. One thing that I want to I'm sorry, Bless. Get your comment. I want to add one
I
more
was
thing
just
to
going to
it.
say, in this case, if they had even maced him, he probably would have had the same thing, some sort of cardiac arrest, because he was asthmatic.
Right.
But like I said, officers don't know that when they're going to arrest someone.
Right.
So
Well, they also didn't know that they had
officers
that.
are aware of particular policies for particular holds that they use. It's just that I'm serious.
It's
It
the-
is
yeah,
just
I mean,
that
like we
simple.
just mentioned before, that the chokehold, like Hakeem and I said,
Right.
and we're agreeing with Will that the chokehold has been illegal. And then Adiva mentioned, can't you tase or something? When they try that, ask Oscar Grant how the tase works out. The guy said he was reaching for his taser, he ended up shooting him, and the city still can't, bring themselves to paying them, the family, the money that they were supposed to pay them. I think the mother got something, but the dad didn't. Ain't no hashtag with Marcus J. One more thing that I want to add to this, and I kind of feel somewhat guilty bringing this up, but in the interest of full disclosure, I feel it necessary because of some of the things that we've talked about in the past. One face that I have seen very prominently with the family of Eric Garner in the last few days is the face of Reverend Al Sharpton, who is been with the family since the moment that has happened. I got my feelings on that. Anybody that knows me knows that I've supported him for years, and my opinions of him have softened with regards to my support, but I have some interesting comments on this one. I want to see if anybody, Bless, did you notice the Rev? You have any feelings about the Rev being present here?
well, like you've mentioned before regarding Reverend Al Sharpton, I mean, he's usually been very supportive in getting victims' rights and helping them out in situations where other people feel like he's trying to take a hold of a spotlight and just trying to get more media attention for himself. Actually, like I said, I haven't seen the videos. I try to stay away from the news because I find it kind of depressing, so I haven't really seen it for myself.
Well, my thought is, people like to say what they say about Reverend Al Sharpton. The truth of the matter is, if you're someone that has, a situation come up, you want all the support that you want all the support that you can get. So you'll if Reverend Al Sharpton wants to be there and be the face of, the help for injustice, then so be it. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know how you make money doing that, but if he's figured it out, then so be it. But
but who else is going to do it? Who else?
That's what I was thinking. Like, he's the only one standing up saying, this is not acceptable.
Well,
Who
yeah.
else is saying it?
Well, that's the point that I was gonna. That's the point that I was gonna make. Like I said, I got some issues with him in some other areas, which is not, now is not the time for that. But what I will say is, if I have someone who is going to rile up, the people who I feel have done me wrong, regardless of what their motives are, I think I'm going to go ahead and let them do what they do. Because ask the people down in Gina, Louisiana, what it was like. And I won't give Al all the credit for that. That was mostly Warren Ballantyne, who didn't get any credit, but he was one of the first that I heard. But, people coming in and saying this ain't right. Ask people like that what would happen if no one stood up and said anything for them. So while I may have issues, and while I know many people do have issues with the Reverend Al Sharpton, I'm not going to take him to task for this. This is what he does.
But it doesn't, with his high status, that's the issue, I think, with his higher status, with him being so high in the spotlight. But there's a lady around here, the lady with the dreadlocks, where, you see her on the news every time.
I can't think of her name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
And as I've seen her, like, in public, and as soon as she leaves, people are bad-mouthing her.
Yep, and I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why, because we've been trained to be crabs in a barrel, and while some of us, deserve some ire because of some of the things they do, you got to give credit where credit is due. And I never understood our people calling him an ambulance chaser. I never understood that. I just didn't. That's what the enemy will call him, because they don't want him around, because then they get called out on their bullshit. But our people, our same people who know that if they were in the same situation, they will call him, be the first ones to step up and have something negative to say about him. And that, to me, is about the biggest line of bullshit and hypocrisy that I could ever speak to. Ain't no half step with Marcus J. We're going to take our final break of the night. And when we come back, we got our rants and we got our closings. And we're getting ready to lose my co-host. So before we actually get on out of here, I'm going to have my co-host, say her final words, and then we'll do our rants and we'll do our closings after she leaves and after we do our break. But as of right now, I'm going to have her do her rant and her closing a little bit early. So she's got her music playing. What you got? I know you're happy over there.
I always
every
am.
time because you got your man here. See you. So what you got?
I'm happy because it's Monday.
You mad because
and y'all know what happens on Mondays. We go through this every Monday. But, you know, it was fun. It was a good show, as always. And next week, I think I'm going to do a chick flick review. And us girls can have some fun. So that is it for Monday. So y'all, ladies, get it together. And you guys who are metrosexual and in touch with your feminine side, you can listen to.
No men will participate in your game. You call them
You can listen to. But I want to tell you guys, Wednesday. Now, normally you find me here on Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. But Wednesday, y'all know it's the Green Room version 2.0 at Jay Grizzy and comedian Nesla P. You will find S.Y. Butler out of her element on Wednesday. Y'all will see my alter ego in action. So, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, it's going to be a me you've never... Well, you got a teeny little taste of one time we made Marcus very uneasy. But
yeah, y'all talked about vaginas.
So you're gonna be talking about vaginas?
Well, we're gonna be talking a whole bunch of good stuff. So Wednesday, don't forget, 7 o'clock. Have your ears on, and give me a call and let me know what you think on Wednesday as well. But other than that, I really do have to run, so I wanted to say good night. And Brandy, Blessed, Diva. It's so great to see you guys today.
Same here.
Y'all know we always have fun anyway.
Yes, we do.
Marcus with your snappy self. We're going to have to fix you.
Never.
I told you your attitude will be adjusted.
Never.
It will be adjusted.
Never.
It will be.
I'm the grumpiest guy you met, and you
You
love
know,
me.
if you put your clear glasses on, then that grumpy goes with it. But when you wear the tinteds, leave that stuff at the
And I
door.
wear the tennis like
Leave it at the
99% of the time, man. You ain't,
And then I
scared
want to
of
thank
nobody.
my baby.
Lucky I like
Did
you.
he have anything to
Hanging
say?
out. No, you
No,
don't,
you're
want to
saying-
say anything, honey?
He's a man of few words.
No,
There
he's
you
not.
are.
No.
He's a man of few
He's
words.
not.
He's a
But
man-
thank you for hanging out with me tonight.
Oh, y'all are making me sick.
My baby is reaching for the mic.
Yeah, there you go. There it is.
Yes, I am a man of few words, but there's a lot of fun in here.
Yes.
A lot of fun in here.
Well, we glad to have you, man. We hadn't seen you in a while, so we're definitely glad that you joined us tonight.
Well, thank you.
So, you know, you guys, thanks again for listening, because as always, I wouldn't be talking if you weren't listening.
You got it.
So I will see you on Monday when we play our chick flick review. And Marcus,
Yes, ma'am.
behave yourself.
No, ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Before we get out of the segment, we got a comment in from DJ Renee Melendez alluding to the last article that we talked about with the New York City police officer, Officer Daniel Pantaleo, and the fellow officers at the scene should be fired, is what she's saying. She's talking about Mr. Garner. His eyes and tongue were hanging out his mouth. He clearly died from asphyxia. This is what she was saying. So that's pretty much what my opinion as well. So anyway, we're going to get out of here. We're going to take our final break of the night. When we come back, we got our rants, and we got our closings for the crew. Marcus J. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. Stay with us. Be back in a minute.